happy to have Ken Gramley here tonight from Emerging Threats Pro. I think this is a very cool company that is doing things that you all need to know about, but you probably don't know about. So Ken has been the CEO for about 18 months?
2 years.
2 years. Has raised funding from Halo about a year ago, and Elevate Ventures. So very exciting story. In Lafayette, Indiana is where they are based, but they are having an increasing presence here in Indianapolis, and they have been a TechPoint Mira finalist, I think, again this year, correct?
Yes.
But Ken has a very good background. He is a Rose-Hulman graduate. Any other Rose graduates here tonight? Oh, come on.
Wow. I'm all alone.
Yeah, they're lost, Ken. The rest of us will absorb all the knowledge. So, but very happy to have Ken here tonight to tell their story, and I just think this will be a very timely thing with a lot of interesting things going on. Every day we read another significant security event, and we should all be increasingly worried. And Ken and Emerging Threats are doing a lot of very interesting things to try and mitigate and protect us from a lot of those cyber harms that are out there. So please join me in welcoming Ken Gramley.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. Like you said, I'm with Emerging, and as someone pointed out on my name tag, I am with Emerging Treats. And if I had known that, I would have brought something to pass around, some little chocolates or something, but I didn't think of that.
Twinkies.
Twinkies, if you're my age, you can remember back when the internet was new, and the first things that we saw when we got on, where things started to go bad, were you would log on and you'd open your browser, and it would take you someplace that you did not want to be, okay? And if you're at work, you're like trying to throw something over your monitor, and if you're at home, God forbid if your wife sees it, because you're going, honey, I didn't go there, honest, I don't know what happened. And you know, sometimes you might get 50 windows pop up. And that's if you're lucky, somebody just hijacked your browser. If you were unlucky, they would trash your hard disk and erase your files. And a lot of these were done by kids learning a new skill set. And so we had kind of the genesis of the industry that we see now, where they used script kiddies, they would try vulnerable services. It was the genesis of malware. Malware existed. You know, worms would go, you'd open a Word spreadsheet or a Word file, and Word would then send everybody in your email list a duplicate of that. If you were lucky, that's all it would do. I once actually infected an entire, I had a customer, we were doing contract work, and we infected that entire customer's company. So all of us, I think, have been hit by these things. I remember calling the guy up that my thing had sent an email to. I'm like, don't open it, don't open it. And as I'm telling him this over the phone, he goes, what, this? And he clicks on it. Boom! And he's like, what do I do? And I'm like, unplug your computer. And this was before Wi-Fi. Anyway, we've all seen these things. I think we've all, and we've probably noticed that, gee, that stuff doesn't happen anymore. You know, why? How many times recently have you had your browser hijacked? Well, the browsers have gotten better. And frankly, for those kids who have now grown up, what's the fun in hijacking a browser or crashing a computer? As they grew up, they realized they needed to make money, and so they went one of two ways. They either became security professionals, like me, or they continued down the dark side. And you would be surprised at the number of security professionals that have some level of black hat in their youth, where as a teenager, you know, up to early 20s, they did some sketchy things, and then they realized, you know, this isn't right. I need to turn my path around, but I've got this great skill set I've learned. And so they use that on the good side. And I've seen that in every company I've gone to. You know, you got to take them out and get a couple of beers in them before they'll fess up to that. But, I worked with one guy once who, as a high schooler, had the FBI show up at his doorstep. And he told me he was just so thankful that his parents were not at home because he never told them. But that was the incident that scared him straight. And they did not prosecute him, but they prosecuted the guy that he was doing stuff with, who was 22 years old. He was a high schooler. Okay, so in the beginning, there were kids, they were doing these things, they grew up, they needed to make money, and so they created a business model. And the 1.0 version of their model was fairly simple. It was, okay, I already know how to hack your computer, so I'm going to try and hack your computer and take something from you. And one of the things trying to be visible, haha, I got you, now they try to be invisible. And not be able to put stuff on your computer and you not know it. And then they would compromise your computer, see if they could get your banking records or whatever. And that was kind of the first step in the process. And we've kind of dubbed this the mom and pop shop. Somebody who's learned this basic skill set, they go off, they do this. But they wanted to make more money because they realized, gee, if I can say, if I can steal $100 from this person, how can I do that 1,000 times where I don't have to do it at the keyboard 1,000 times? Because that takes too long. So, they grew their business model where they went to a global scale. And I don't know how many people here have heard of botnets. But the botnets out there are absolutely enormous. So a botnet is a group of computers that is under the control of an individual or organization. And there are botnets. Burrito Lab has 30 million computers that they believe they can control. And part of, and I call this part of 3.0, but part of this process, you create a botnet like that, the botnet in itself has value. They rent the botnet out. So, I create a botnet of 10 million, and I say, okay, you want to use part of my botnet? Fine, what do you need, 50,000, 150,000, 300,000 computers? You can rent those from me. I'm not going to ask you any questions on what you're going to do with it, because then I might be doing something illegal. And I'm a legitimate business person. So here's your rented botnet, go for it. So with this, they have scaled themselves up. And what they do is the bots actually can pass themselves along. So I infect your computer infects hers infects those four infect those 16. And the network just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It allows them to control the PC. They connect back to a command and control server. That command and control server basically tells the bot what you want it to do. I want you to do a denial of service attack against this company. I want to do, if you're big enough, I want to do a denial of service attack against this country. I want to do, we're going to direct towards stealing this information. So as many different things as we can. They are unlimited in their ingenuity. So as I mentioned, some of the botnets are really big. This is actually a picture of the interconnected of one of the botnets. And I'm sorry, I didn't make this slide, I don't remember whose it is. But this is a global picture where they took the Earth out of all of the connections to a particular botnet. So one botnet can have a global reach. It's kind of scary. So the 2.0 business model, the attacker's gone global. Everything is, they have an army of PCs behind them. And now, instead of trying to just steal your stuff, they're trying to use your computer to steal other stuff. And then they moved from that model to what we're kind of dubbing the 3.0 business model, where they start to specialize and compartmentalize. So the guy who does the botnet just does the botnet, and he rents it out, because that's what he's good at. The guy who writes malware just writes malware, and he sells that off to whoever. And there is a massive underground network to buy malware. You can buy malware kits, where you buy the kit, you install the kit, it's got a nice GUI on it, you click the type of things you want to do, you put in where your IP addresses and domain names are, where your command and control server is going to be. You hit a button and it creates an executable for you to then put out and spread through the internet. And you can buy that as a kit for, I think it's about $4,000 or $5,000. Anyway, so there's both a criminal element to this, and they look at themselves as service providers, right? I'm providing a service to this infrastructure that ultimately steals billions of dollars a year. We have variable pricing. We have, one of the interesting things, in many countries, it's not illegal to steal things via the internet or to hack a computer. Some countries have it, it's only illegal to do those in your own country. So for instance, if you're in the Ukraine and you're a hacker, they've actually done it so that their bots won't install themselves on PCs that have the Ukrainian key set, because that would be illegal, and they wouldn't want to do anything illegal now, would they? And they know that as long as they follow that, the Ukrainian government isn't going to care if they're hacking other countries. Same is true of China. One of the things I haven't really mentioned in this is nation states do this as well. I don't know if you heard of Mandy had put out a report a while ago where they did a wonderful job tracking what a division of the Chinese army was doing. And the goal of that division was to steal secrets from English-speaking countries' companies. And they had documented many of the cases, and everything was coming out of this division. It was not, oh, there were a few people in it. It was, they had documented the level of internet service that they had dropped into these buildings. And it was, they were really caught red-handed, and of course they have denied everything. But the thing to just be aware of is that all of the bad guys see what they do as a business. And we're no longer being attacked by teenagers sitting in the next neighborhood over who are bored and have nothing to do. These guys are intent. They are intent on making money. They don't see what they are doing as wrong. And they are not being blocked by governments. So, you know, until international law catches up, which it may never do, this stuff isn't going to stop. You know, in certain countries, it is. I mean, here in this country, it's illegal. However, you will find it very difficult unless you're somebody like Target and have a breach of that size to get law enforcement interested in prosecuting somebody unless you can show pretty major damage, because it happens so often and it's so hard to track down. You know, one of the biggest things is just be careful where you go on the internet. You know, if you like going to gambling sites, offshore gambling sites, gee, they may be dropping something on your computer to track you that you don't know about, or to put a bot there. So, you know, the neighborhood that you hang out in, just like a physical neighborhood, you know, I think most people are careful about the physical neighborhoods they go to. Same thing is true online. You have to be careful about the neighborhood you go to. Not that all, you know, good guys like Target get compromised, but if you go to some place that's sketchy, you're guaranteed to find something. You know, we provide solutions to try and help identify these actors. We identify them by IP address. We don't identify them by Steve and John and Susan. We identify them by IP address and domain name. And so we provide that information in real time to our clients so that they can know, gee, maybe I shouldn't connect to these. At any given time, we're tracking about 500,000 malicious domains and IPs. And we update that list hourly, so we are giving real-time information to our clients to try and combat what they're seeing here. And that was all I had. Did anybody have any questions?